One of the more common things that people look at or talk about when they're looking at hair transplant websites are the logos of the affiliations, the memberships that different clinics are proud to be a part of. And a lot of times I read when a patient will say, hey, I'm considering Dr. X, they're a member of such and such organization. The problem is that most of these organizations don't really mean a whole lot, and I'm about to tell you what they do mean. Now, before I get into that, I want to stress that there's nothing wrong with saying that you're part of an organization, but sometimes they're presented as being exclusive memberships when they really aren't. And that's what the focus of this is about, so that you can understand what each of these organizations represent, what it means to be a part of them, and what it means to you as the consumer or the patient. Starting off the list of hair transplant and hair loss organizations that you should know about is RealSelf. Now, RealSelf isn't actually a hair restoration organization or a hair transplant organization. It's a general medical reference for consumers, kind of like Yelp, where patients go on to give reviews and then doctors come on to give answers. In fact, if you've done any medical research for any procedure that you might be considering, you've more than likely come across RealSelf. But when you go to doctor websites, you might see either RealSelf or RealSelf Top Doc. What does that mean? Is it an indicator of quality and that you can trust the doctor to do a great job because they have that Top Doc seal? Nope. So what does it take to be a RealSelf Top Doc? Well, according to the website, the criteria for a RealSelf Top Doctor status are as follows. You have to have 75 or more answers to users' questions. You have to have 10 new answers every 3 months or every 90 days. You have to have 3 patient reviews with an above average overall rating. And you have to have a net positive vote or net positive votes on questions that are answered, because they have a rating system of whether or not the answers are good or not. That's it. It even says here there's no application process. But one little detail that people probably don't think about with RealSelf is it actually a doctor that's answering the questions? Is it someone that works in the office? Is it a marketer that works for the doctor? You don't know. So ultimately, it's not a bad thing to be a top doc. It just means that the doctor has answered a lot of questions. Next up, we have the IAHRS, or the International Society of Hair Restoration Surgeons. Sounds pretty impressive. But what is it really? What does it mean to have the logo or the seal of the IAHRS on a doctor's website that you might be considering for your hair transplant? What it means is that the doctor that you're considering is a member of the largest educational organization in the world when it comes to hair loss and hair restoration. The IAHRS has, as of now in 2017, a member base of between 1,200 and 1,300 members. If you look on their website, you can read their own mission statement. The mission of the IAHRS is to achieve excellence in medical and surgical outcomes by promoting member education, international collegiality, research, ethics, and public awareness. The vision is to establish the IAHRS as a leading unbiased authority in medical and surgical hair restoration. Now, part of the mission statement does address the way that I look at the IAHRS, and they state that their mission is to, achieve excellence in medical and surgical outcomes by promoting member education, ethics, collegiality, all those good things. So that's what they do. They promote education. They promote the idea that doctors should share information, which is what doctors should be doing anyway. But I've been to several of these meetings. They're actually very good to go to. The doctors are always sharing with each other, and they do put on workshops at various cities around the world to teach other doctors how to perform surgery. That's a good thing. But they are by no means a mark of excellence. So if you see the ISHRS seal or logo on a doctor's website, that's not really saying anything as far as the quality of what you can expect for your result. And in fact, the only thing that you need to join the ISHRS is the application fee, which I think is 75 bucks, a copy of your medical license, and 2 letters of recommendation, with 1 letter being from a current existing member of the ISHRS, and the second letter needs to be from another doctor that doesn't have to be in the ISHRS, doesn't even have to be a hair transplant surgeon. They just have to be in the same region as the doctor that's applying. Then you have the AAHRS, or the Asian Association of Hair Wait. Now this is another education-only organization. It has zero meaning when it comes to excellence or the overall quality of a doctor's procedures in his clinic. In fact, the only thing that you need for membership is 1 photograph, a copy of the medical registration certificate, and a copy of your degree certificate. That's it. And then you have the British Association of Hair Restoration Surgeons, or the BAHRS. Yeah. This is another region-specific society, again, focused on education, but what we're seeing here is a trend where if you have a region-specific society in hair restoration surgery, you can pretty much bet that it is an education-only society and really has nothing to do with quality. Same thing goes for the Italian Hair Restoration Society, the Brazilian. Next up, we have the ABHRS, or the American Board of Hair Restoration Surgery. Now this one actually does mean something. They do require a medical exam for entrance. I don't mean that kind of medical exam. I mean they have to pass a test to prove their medical competency, medical competency that shows that they know what they're doing, and it indicates that the doctor has had some form of hair transplant training in order to be able to pass the test. And the important part to recognize about this is that these are not online exams. You actually have to travel to one of the testing centers, which is usually a different conference in a different part of the world. But you're sitting down to take a test, and there is a board of examiners that are there to grade your test. And I think it's a great thing to have, because if someone is going to get into the industry, then they're going to be encouraged to actually study for this test, go train with a doctor that knows what he's doing, pass the exam, to let you know with the seal on their website that they do have a basic competency for surgical hair restoration. So think about that. You need standards. Next up, we have the American Hair Loss Association, or the American Hair Loss, AHLA. Now what's unique about the American Hair Loss Association is that it's the first consumer organization to really bring to the forefront not just the cosmetic impact of hair loss, but also what it means to consumers. In other words, how it affects people mentally and emotionally. They've really worked hard to put together an unbiased resource, and they've done such a good job that it's the most recognized and referenced resource in the world. And it's the only hair loss organization in the world that's been endorsed by Consumer Reports. It's also been referenced by Consumer Digest, WebMD, ABC News, CNN, Men's Health, you name it. Every major media outlet that has had any sort of story about hair loss has at one time or another referenced the American Hair Loss Association. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the American Hair Loss Association does not take membership fees. In fact, they don't take donations, and they don't take corporate sponsorships. And the only way that a doctor can be recommended by the American Hair Loss Association is to be a member of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. The IAHRS is the first consumer and professional organization that is based on standards. But what does it mean to be an accepted member of the IAHRS? Well, it means that the doctor that is accepted by the IAHRS has exhibited a level of ability that is above average. It means that they're really good at what they do. It means that their patient care is pretty strong. It means that their ethics are in the right place and that they endorse the message and carry the message of the IAHRS that surgery is a last resort. So when you're doing your research to find a hair transplant doctor for your own needs, it's simply a safe place to start your research. In fact, I agree with that approach so much that when doctors want to work with me, I won't even talk to them unless they are an IAHRS accepted member. Which brings me to the final organization that I think means something. What does it mean to be a part of Hair Transplant Mentor? Well, there's a little bit of a backstory to this. You remember the video that I put up on YouTube where I'm talking about my history, my surgical history, my professional history, my experience? I get dozens and dozens of people every week asking me, Joe, who do you think I should go to? What do you think about this doctor? What do you think about that doctor? And the problem with those questions is, as innocent as they may be, it puts me into a position where I have influence over someone's decision for their surgery. I decided that the only way that I can recommend any doctor is if I would have surgery with that doctor myself. So when doctors approach me to be a part of Hair Transplant Mentor, they have to be an IAHRS accepted member first and foremost. If they're not, don't even talk to them. But if they are an IAHRS accepted member, then we can talk. And then I not just look at the results online like everyone else can do, I look at the results with my eyes, based on my experience, because I basically wrote the book on how to take photos for hair transplants. Book. But I also start asking them about their internal protocols at their clinic, how they do the procedures. I look at their marketing. I look at how they treat their patients once they get to the clinic. I look at how they treat their patients once they've left the clinic and they're recovering from their procedures. So I take my 25 years of being a patient, my 15 years of working in world-class clinics, and I condense all that into one final question. Would I consider having surgery with this doctor? If the answer is yes, then I can feel comfortable saying to someone else that I think that this doctor is a good choice. But I will never, ever talk someone into having surgery. In fact, just like the American Hair Loss Association and the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, I push the no surgery message. Now, those are not the only organizations that are out there. They're not the only organizations that have some sort of logo or seal that go on doctor websites. There are no real definable parameters of what a doctor should do to qualify for some of these organizations. The way that some of these organizations pick their doctors, and they do approach doctors to join, is no better than some guy sitting in his underwear in a basement clicking on before and after photos just like you can do. Woo! So now you know when you see these seals or these logos on doctor websites, you know what it means for the doctor to be a part of it, and you know how it affects you. So with that, hit that like button if you thought this was valuable for you. And if you want to see more videos, don't just keep coming back. Hit the subscribe button. You'll get some sort of notification in your email. It'll be like Christmas morning every time you see it, and you'll rush over here to see what the Hair Transplant Mentor's got to say. Really? Come on back. Peace.